On the vast grasslands of Africa, the lion is always the dominant predator, capable of closing in with lightning speed before suddenly lunging at its prey. However, not every attack ends in victory, as many prey animals manage to react strongly enough to fight back and disrupt the hunt's rhythm at the first point of contact. In this high-pressure confrontation, the ability to maintain position, sustain a continuous attack, and control distance is what ultimately determines the outcome. In the vast savanna, the mother elephant moved slowly with her calf, constantly observing changes around the herd. Elephants don't react with panic, but rather assess danger before acting. Their tusks and large bodies help them maintain a defensive stance when unusual movements appear near the low grass. From behind the dry grass, a group of lions silently approached, trying to close the distance to the calf. The lions didn't confront the adult elephants directly, but sought opportunities in the gaps between mother and calf. When the lions suddenly accelerated, the mother elephant immediately turned to block them, then advanced, forcing the lions back. The mother elephant's call quickly drew other adult elephants back to the calf's position. The gap the lions were waiting for disappeared as the protective formation began to close around the calf. The hunt ended with the lion's defeat as the elephant herd continued to move in a stable formation. In the sparse, dry grassland, adult oryx slowly move around the edge of the herd in a state of alert. Oryx usually live in groups to increase their vigilance, with healthy individuals taking positions on the periphery when the herd rests or grazes. Their good heat tolerance and steady movement allow them to remain calm when signs of danger begin to appear near the sparse bushes. While the oryx maintains its steady observation, several young lions silently close the distance from various directions. The lions attempt to circle around to find an approach point, but the oryx detects them early, lowers its center of gravity, and turns its face toward the danger. When the lions suddenly accelerate, the oryx immediately points its horns forward and responds with short headbutts to force the lions back. These repeated approaches do not give the lions an advantage against the oryx's quick reaction. The young lions gradually became more cautious as the oryx's horns remained consistently oriented in a defensive position throughout the confrontation. The struggle slowed down as the lions could no longer maintain a stable approach in the face of the oryx's continuous responses. On the tranquil riverbank, the adult crocodile lay low below the water's surface, only its eyes and nose visible as it monitored the river's edge. Crocodiles possess a strong ambush instinct and often wait silently until prey moves into an unfavorable position. Their strong jaws and bodies adapted to the water give them an advantage when the lioness brings her young closer to the soft mud. The lioness slowly descended to the water's edge, observing the river while keeping her young behind. When the crocodile suddenly lunged from the water, the lioness immediately turned and advanced to block its approach. However, the soft mud quickly slowed the lioness's movements in the face of the crocodile's swift reaction. The confrontation quickly shifted as the lioness lost her advantage near the water's edge. She was forced to move her young away from the mud before the danger escalated. The hunt gradually ended as the crocodile maintained its advantage at the boundary between water and land. In the open savanna, adult giraffes move slowly near the herd, constantly observing their surroundings. Thanks to their superior height, giraffes can detect danger from afar before other species can react. Their long legs and powerful kicks allow them to maintain a defensive distance when unusual movements begin to appear. From behind the sparse bushes, lions silently lower their bodies, trying to close the distance to the giraffes approaching the edge of the herd. Lions don't engage directly too soon, instead looking for opportunities to disrupt the giraffes' movements as they turn. But when the lions suddenly accelerate, the giraffes quickly change direction and counterattack, forcing the lions to retreat. The attack quickly loses its advantage as the giraffes maintain their distance with long strides across the grassland. Lions continue to pursue closely for a short time, but the giraffes' constant reactions prevent them from maintaining a stable approach. The hunt gradually came to an end as the giraffe returned to the herd's formation and the lions began to leave the area. In the muddy river, adult hippos stand near the water's edge, constantly monitoring any movement around them. Hippos have a very strong territorial instinct, especially when danger approaches the water or their offspring. Their heavy bodies and strong jaws help them maintain their composure when unusual movements begin to appear near the shore. From the low grass near the water's edge, lions silently lower their bodies and slowly move towards the hippo. Lions try to create pressure from various directions, but when they get close enough, the hippo immediately lunges forward to block their approach. The hippo's sudden reaction quickly forces the lion to change direction and retreat from the soft mud. The lion gradually loses its ability to maintain pressure as the hippo continues to react aggressively around the water's edge. The lion continues to move around the area for a short time, but can no longer find a suitable approach point due to the hippo's strong reaction. The confrontation gradually ended as the hippo slowly retreated further into the water and the lion began to move away from the shore. On the dusty grassland, adult buffaloes moved slowly on the outer edge of the formation, constantly monitoring changes around the herd. Buffaloes always maintain a very quick reaction to signs of danger, especially when many young individuals are standing behind the protective line. Their strong front bodies and thick horns help them maintain stability when unusual movements begin to appear near the low grass. Hidden among the dusty patches ahead, lions began to shift positions, slowly closing the distance from the buffaloes near the edge of the herd. Lions tried to apply pressure from multiple directions to force the buffaloes out of their defensive rhythm, but the buffaloes quickly turned and charged straight forward. This unexpected reaction caused the lions to immediately scatter and retreat from the dusty area. The chaotic movements quickly drew many other buffaloes back towards the pressured position. The defensive formation gradually closed, leaving the lions with no safe space to continue their approach. The standoff slowly came to an end as the buffalo herd remained in formation while the lions began to move away from the area. Near a carcass lying on the dry ground, spotted hyenas constantly moved and sniffed around the feeding area. Hyenas have a very keen survival instinct and can easily detect signs of rivals from afar. Their strong jaws allow them to utilize even hard bones, so the hyenas maintained their position around the carcass in the open field. While the hyenas remained in formation around the carcass, several lions began to approach from the edge of the grassland. The lions suddenly accelerated, charging forward to force the hyenas out of the area, causing many to temporarily retreat. But the hyenas quickly signaled for reinforcements and continued to pressure the lions. The atmosphere around the feeding area quickly changed as more and more hyenas formed a wide circle around the carcass. The lions tried to maintain their position, but the constant pressure from multiple directions gradually eroded their initial advantage. The confrontation ended when the lions were forced to leave the area and the hyenas returned to the carcass. The contest showed that strength isn't the only factor determining outcomes on the savanna. For hyenas, coordination and maintaining group pressure were what gradually helped them regain the upper hand in the prolonged confrontation. In the dusty, open field, the adult rhino constantly shifted its position to monitor any movement around it. Despite its poor eyesight, the rhino reacted quickly thanks to its hearing and ability to sense vibrations near the ground. Whenever it sensed approach, the rhino immediately turned its head to keep its opponent within close observation. From the edge of the grassland, the lions began to move slowly, maintaining their distance to observe the rhino's reaction. The lions didn't rush in too quickly, constantly changing positions and attempting to approach from various directions. But each time the distance narrowed, the rhino quickly spun around and lunged forward, forcing the lions to separate. After several attempts to approach, the lions gradually lost their ability to maintain pressure around their target. The rhino consistently maintained the initiative with short but decisive reactions, leaving no safe space at close range. The slow confrontation ended when the lions began to leave the area, while the rhino remained in its position in the open field. After intense chases, not every lion hunt results in a win-win situation, as many prey animals manage to react and change the course of events at the last moment. In the vast savanna, the ability to maintain formation, fight back relentlessly, and control distance has often completely disrupted the rhythm of attacks. Follow the channel to continue exploring these fierce confrontations and the most authentic survival moments of the wild. On the vast, dry grasslands of Africa, hyenas don't just appear as followers. They often become the center of fierce competition. With their powerful control and incredible stamina, they maintain pressure for minutes. And when the time is right, hyenas can launch a decisive attack in just seconds. In an environment where every small mistake is costly, it is this collective coordination that creates some of the most dangerous confrontations ever recorded. In the shade, near a freshly killed carcass, the leopard stood at a distance, observing its surroundings. Leopards possess highly precise ambush instincts, usually only launching an attack when their target is distracted. With strong shoulders and forelegs, it has the control to withstand close-range collisions, and that advantage begins to change the course of events. The initial balance was quickly challenged when hyenas appeared. A hyena approached to gauge the leopard's reaction before others joined in. As their numbers increased, they formed a pressure circle, alternately closing in and retreating to force the leopard to constantly change direction. This constant shifting consumed more of the leopard's concentration and energy than expected. When the pressure became uncontrollable, its space to move narrowed significantly. Facing the risk of injury, the leopard chose to retreat from the carcass. This outcome clearly reflected the difference between individual strength and collective pressure. The hyenas prevailed as they regained control of the food source. In the wild, sustained teamwork often determines the ultimate outcome. On the edge of an area with freshly caught carcasses, a group of wild dogs maintain a tight formation around the food source. Wild dogs possess an extremely precise pack-hunting instinct and always coordinate their movements to disorient their rivals when necessary. With some of the highest endurance among African predators, their advantage lies in their ability to maintain a steady pace until pressure begins to build. That pressure builds when hyenas don't charge directly into the middle of the formation, but instead move around the perimeter to observe the reaction, approaching and then stopping. They wait to see which individual reacts slowest before calling for reinforcements. As numbers increase and the pressure circle expands from multiple directions, the wild dog's control space gradually shrinks. This shrinking space forces the wild dogs to use circling tactics to stretch the opponent's formation. But the weight difference makes a direct confrontation disadvantageous. 2 or 3 hyenas advancing in the same direction force the entire pack to retreat for safety. When the pressure exceeds the wild dog's ability to maintain formation, they retreat in an organized manner, and the hyenas ultimately prevail. In the open savanna, the adult zebra stands in the vigilant formation of the pack. Zebras have a very quick instinct to detect danger. The slightest unusual movement can cause the entire pack to change direction almost instantly. With a powerful rear kick capable of inflicting serious injury at close range, the zebra maintains its initial distance and temporary advantage. That advantage begins to shift when a group of hyenas pursue it over a long distance without immediately accelerating to maximum speed. They take turns maintaining a steady pace, forcing the zebra to constantly change direction and expend energy, creating a clear circle of pressure. The zebra tries to use its rear kicks to keep its opponents out of reach. But the prolonged chase means its speed can no longer be maintained as it was initially. As its stamina wanes and the formation drifts away, its defensive advantage gradually diminishes, and the hyena ultimately prevails. On the vast savanna, speed might help you escape danger in the first few seconds, but endurance and strategy are what determine the long-term outcome. In the scorching, dry grasslands exceeding 110 degrees Fahrenheit, adult antelopes move across open terrain. Antelopes possess a highly developed reflex system for detecting danger. Thanks to their wide field of vision and constant observational habits while traveling in herds. With their high speed and agile directional changes, they often create a safe distance within the first few seconds. However, a group of hyenas began a long-distance chase without accelerating to maximum speed from the start. They forced the antelope to run continuously in the intense heat, gradually turning the hunt into a test of endurance. When the pace slowed down for even a brief moment, the encirclement was immediately tightened. The high temperature caused the body to expend energy rapidly, and the antelope could no longer maintain its initial speed. The hyenas took advantage of this moment to close the gap and win. In such a harsh environment, the ability to sustain pressure sometimes determines the outcome more than explosive speed. Amidst the hundreds of miles of migration during the great wildebeest season, adult wildebeest strive to maintain a safe position within the dense formation. Wildebeest possess a strong pack survival instinct and always maintain close proximity to each other to reduce the risk of being separated. With high endurance and a steady pace across grasslands, mudflats, and shallow rivers, the wildebeest's safety depends almost entirely on maintaining speed and not slowing down. This very pace begins to be challenged when a group of hyenas closely pursues them at nearly 35 miles per hour over the long distance. They don't suddenly increase their speed, but maintain steady pressure, waiting for an individual to lose their rhythm so the distance from the pack can widen. When the natural protective circle opens up for just a few short seconds, the initiative gradually shifts to the predatory pack. The wildebeest attempts to accelerate to rejoin the pack, but the protective gap is no longer as tight as before. The hyena's endurance and coordination overcome the initial pack advantage, and ultimately, victory belongs to them. During a mass migration spanning hundreds of miles, even a moment of delay can alter the entire balance of survival. In the vast expanse of dry grassland, adult buffalo stand at the outer edge of the formation, closely shielding the young. Buffalo possess an extremely high level of vigilance, and even the slightest unusual movement can cause the entire herd to instantly adjust direction or form a tight defensive circle. With their high pain tolerance and ability to maintain resistance, many individuals weighing over 1,500 pounds remain in place even when cornered, and this stability forms the first line of defense. This defensive advantage prevents hyenas from charging head-on, instead causing them to constantly move around the formation to find space. They divide roles clearly, cornering from multiple directions and testing the herd's reaction with short advances. As the pressure circle lengthens and the formation is forced to constantly shift, small points of disruption begin to appear in the initial stability. These points of disruption gradually expand as a slower individual is separated from the central protective layer. Buffalo lowered their horns to maintain distance and tried to hold their formation for as long as possible. But the pressure didn't ease over time. When the safe distance was completely broken, the victory ultimately went to hyena. This result shows that in prolonged confrontations, collective endurance and perseverance can weaken even the strongest defensive systems. Near their usual hunting grounds, adult male lions patrol alone when they spot signs of hyenas in the area. Lions are very quick at identifying the right moment to approach and often choose a time when their prey is off guard. With their extremely strong shoulder and front leg muscles and powerful striking force at close range, they are able to firmly grip and unbalance even large prey. Initially, the lion's presence causes the hyenas to retreat from the area around the cub. However, they don't leave completely, maintaining their distance and continuing to observe the movements of the lone male. When the lion successfully hunts and begins to protect its prey, distant calls gradually become audible, and pressure builds. Groups of hyenas approach in short bursts, not all at once, forcing the lion to constantly turn its head to protect its share of the prey. After several brief bursts of speed to chase it away, its reaction time slowed, and its control was no longer as stable as it had been initially. The spoils ultimately fell to the hyenas when the sustained pressure overcame the explosive power of the first few seconds. In such competitions, the outcome doesn't just depend on size or the instantaneous force of the impact. Sustained collective pressure can shift the balance of control. In nature, persistence is sometimes just as important as initial strength. In an open space near the edge of the group, the mother rhino stands in front of her young when she detects any unusual movement nearby. Rhinos have a very quick reaction instinct and are ready to lunge straight at their target if they sense danger approaching. With their heavy bodies and thick skin that helps reduce the impact of a direct collision, rhinos maintain their initial defensive position. That defense begins to be challenged when the hyenas move around to find a gap between mother and chick. They advance and retreat continuously, trying to pressure the chick out of the safe zone, while the mother rhino lowers her head and rotates her horns with each movement. When the protective distance is no longer completely closed, the tension increases significantly. If the mother rhino maintains a tight formation and keeps a safe distance, the rhinos have the upper hand. But if the chick separates from the protective layer by even a few short steps, the odds immediately shift in favor of the hyenas. In the open wilderness, even a small misplaced position can completely alter the outcome of survival. Through each competition, hyenas have affirmed their position with clear strategies and persistent pressure. It's not the strongest individual, but the collective that maintains its pace, the longest that holds the advantage. This journey continues, and other natural stories await discovery.